Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Eagle Rare and really asking the question, is this bottle worth all the hype, all the effort to go through to find a bottle of it, to bring it home, for the markup that you might pay for one of these? That's really what we want to talk about today in this video. But a brief introduction of the bottle itself. Eagle Rare is part of the BTAC collection, so Buffalo Trace's allocated bottles. It is made with their mash bill number 1, which is their low rye mash bill. Most people assume that it's about 10% rye, and the rest is corn and barley. A little history, Eagle Rare used to be a single barrel collection, but they changed their bottling system to something that was much quicker to meet the demand, the rising demand of their products. So now it's not a single barrel thing. You know, they take the whole batch and mix it all in. So it's not necessarily a single barrel product anymore, but it does have a lot of barrel qualities to it. It's got a 10-year age statement on it. That's honestly, that's really impressive for something that retails at the MSRP of $35 to $45. Really is what most places are going to be charging for it when they stock these on the shelves. So at that price point, I'm going to fall off the log. I'm going to tell you up front, absolutely, Eagle Rare is 100% a steal. It is a value bourbon at that price point. So MSRP, like I said, comes in around $35, with inflation. So it used to be down as much as $30. Sometimes you'll see it as much as $45 these days. This bottle that I have right here, I only paid $33 for it. And it's all because I went to Total Wine and I asked for the manager of the distilled spirits section while I was there. And I asked him if he had anything in the back that wasn't on the shelves that might be harder to find. And he said, I've got a couple cases of Eagle Rare. I'm limiting it to 1 per person, and I'm selling it at $33. So I was like, I'd be crazy not to take you up on that. So, bit of advice, it's always worth asking. It's always worth asking, especially if you're a regular. They're going to want to sell it to you instead of some guy that drove in from out of town just looking for a rare bottle who's probably never going to come back to their store. Now, before we get into all the discussion about where you find these, how much they're selling for, first thing I want to do is I want to go in on the bourbon and kind of talk about what it tastes like, what it smells like, so you have a better understanding of the characteristics of this bourbon before you go chasing it. Now the thing is, this does, like I say, it carries a 10-year age statement, so it is at least 10 years old, the whiskey in this glass, in this bottle. And knowing that I paid $33 for it, I feel like I made out like a bandit. The nose is really rich. You get a lot of that oaky influence, which obviously, spending at least 10 years in a virgin charred oak barrel, it's going to have a lot of that wood influence for sure. Dark and rich. You get some of that bright citrus in there as well, but mostly those dark, rich, caramely, roasty, even dark chocolate vibes on the nose. And you definitely get that sweet stewed corn for sure. Let's go in on it. Very oak forward on the palate, followed up immediately by that sweet caramel, even some of that dark chocolate vibe to it, maybe even a little bit of like honey sweetness too. But that oak is ever present, especially on the finish, very oaky finish. You want to coat your whole mouth with it too on the second sip for sure. For a $33 bottle of whiskey, it's got a lot of character to it. Coats the whole mouth, pretty viscous. Wonderful oak influence. I love a good oaky whiskey. Opens up quite well. It's only 90 proof, so it doesn't like smack you in the face with that alcohol content either. But it's also not really low and diluted either. It's a nice sweet spot. All in all, that is a delicious whiskey. Absolutely delicious. Is it worth it, though? I think the answer to that question really is it depends. Here's the reality. Buffalo Trace products right now are so hard to find. And there was a little bit of discussion even this week about if that's going to change because Buffalo Trace, Sazerac, the overarching company that owns them, right? They fired their distributor. So a lot of people, that led them to question, well, is it going to be easier for me to find this stuff if they canned their distributor? Who's going to be handling that now? Is it going to be more available in my state? So the backstory behind that process, why they fired them, really has everything to do with business decisions and profit shares and profit margins. It really has nothing to do with the actual like where it gets distributed and at what price it gets distributed and put on those shelves. So that stuff is likely not going to change at all. If anything, the only thing that's going to change how available this is, it would be that Buffalo Trace in recent years, in order to meet growing demand, they expanded their operation quite a bit so that they can produce more whiskey. The only problem with that is this has got a 10-year age statement. So you're going to be waiting a while before any of that, excess production ever hits the shelves in your area. My kid's probably going to be driving before that happens. So we got some time. We're going to be waiting. In the meantime, I don't think anything's going to change. The demand is still really high. The supply is still fairly low. And that leads to a number of other things happening. Like right now, if you were to open up your web browser and search for some online retailers who are selling whiskey to ship it right to your door, the markup on this bottle is insane. Like I said, I bought it for $33. But these online vendors, they're going to be trying to sell it to you for $100, sometimes even $200. I've seen it as much as $200 for a bottle of Eagle Rare. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I will say, at that price point, there are so many phenomenal whiskeys you can buy that are a better whiskey than this is. And I cannot justify spending $100 on a bottle of Eagle Rare. I don't recommend it unless all of this circles back to you, the consumer. Something's value really is determined by you. What is it worth to you? If it is worth $100 to you, maybe you've had it before and you love it. It's your favorite whiskey in the world. Hey, there's no accounting for taste. You like what you like. And if the only way you can get a bottle as soon as you want it is to pay $100 to an online vendor to have it shipped to your door, and it's worth that to you, then it's worth that to you. It's that simple. For me personally, I would not be willing to spend $100 on this. I think the highest I would go is probably $60, and that's only if I really wanted to restock it on my shelf. Otherwise, I just like to play the waiting game. I know it's going to come around eventually at the liquor stores that I frequent. And so those people, those store owners, they're going to be more likely to sell it to me than some Joe Schmo just coming off the street that they don't recognize. So every time I'm in, I just ask, what do you have? What's not on the shelves? You got anything coming in soon? It never hurts to ask. And especially the more you do it, the more you engage with them, the more you go to them as a regular, the more they're going to recognize you and value your business. They're going to want to reward you for being in their store. That's something I used to think was made up, and I'm going to talk about this in another video on advice on how to land some allocated stuff. But one of the best things you can do is just to pick a store to be a regular at. Go there for your cocktail supplies. Go there for your wine, for drinks for your wife, whatever it may be, not just your bourbon hunting. And when they get that stuff in, they're going to want to keep it in the back. And when you come in, they're going to be like, hey, I got some stuff I've been saving for you. Trust me, I did not think that this was a real thing. People told me about this tactic. It's a real thing. These store owners, they know they're going to sell their Eagle Rare. I mean, it's going to jump off the shelves if they put it out there. But it's a strategic thing for them, too. They want to retain their dedicated customers. And so they're going to want to reward them for being regulars. It really is a better business choice on their end as well as it is on our end. So it's a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of a situation. So that being said, I don't think it's worth spending all that money on to get bottles that are highly marked up. If anything, that just reinforces this whole I think this crisis that we have right now where bourbon demand is so high, it's such a trend right now for people to go chasing these bottles that these online vendors especially, they know that you're going to get desperate because you've gone to a store 2, 3, maybe a dozen times and come up empty-handed on the things you're looking for. And they're like, I can save you the trouble for the low, low price of 400% markup on the bottle. You know what I mean? And the more that we support that, the more they're going to do it. So I don't recommend that you do it. But it is ultimately your call what this bottle is worth to you. I think it is every bit worth the $33 I spent on it. I think it's every bit worth a $45 price tag. I think if I really wanted a bottle of it, I would be willing to spend $60 on it. But even at that $60 price point, The competition in bourbon is so steep at that price point. There are so many phenomenal bourbons out there on the shelf for $60 that you can get into. I've got a whole episode on $60 bottles and the ones that I recommend that you purchase. And any number of those will go toe-to-toe with this and beat it on most days, in my opinion. But absolutely it is worth the MSRP. If you can find it at that price point, it's a steal. That's what I would have to say about Eagle Rare. Hey, I do need to say thank you so much to my patrons who are actively supporting me. Thank you so much to those of you who pitched in to buy me that $400 bottle of Whistle Pig 18. That was such a cool gift to open. And I even have a number of you who are shipping me bottles right now for me to try. So I'm excited to dive into that stuff too. People like, thank you Gorgnac, by the way, Mr. Mendoza, for sending me the gift card to Total Wine. I used some of your gift card on this and a store pick, a barrel pick of New Riff that I picked up there too. So thank you very much for your generosity. So many of you guys are just so supportive and really opening up more opportunities for me to try some stuff I otherwise would not be trying. So thank you so much for that. And I'm looking forward to trying those bottles here on the channel. In addition to that, I've got some other videos I'm working on. We got some whiskey cocktails that I want to whip up for you that I highly recommend that you try. And even some more blinds coming down the road, so I'm looking forward to that. I've got some bottles from Christmas that I need to review, so it'll be a good year, and I'm looking forward to continuing the content here on the channel. Thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed the video, would you consider leaving a like on it? Maybe even consider subscribing to get additional bourbon and other whiskey content as well. Cheers! May you get better with age, and may you live richly. We'll catch you in the next one.